This episode is brought to you by Bleacher Report. How do you follow sports? From college football to the NBA, Bleacher Report brings you the latest news, live scores, and epic highlights from your favorite leagues, teams, and athletes, all in one app. Dive into exclusive shows hosted by your favorite athletes and original Bleacher Report series with breaking news, rumors, and predictions all season long. Download Bleacher Report to personalize your coverage.
Welcome back to the Social Media Derby. Before we get into this episode, which is going to be a really cool one, I think, and I haven't seen too much fan content creators talking about this issue or this debate, online. So it'll be a really interesting one, I hope. But before we get into it and our special guest, for those of you watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share if you can, drop your comments down below. For those of you listening on Spotify or any of the audio platforms, please follow, give us a 5-star review. Also remember, the audio-only platforms is the only place to get the full episode. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll most likely see, cuts of different episodes, different parts of this episode online. So, if you want to just listen without having to keep clicking, listen on the audio platform and then you'll get the full episode. But let's get into it then. So we've got a very special guest this week, Draco Wang. He's the Arsenal Ethnic Minority Supporters Representative, massive Arsenal fan. Home and away, he's there. Welcome, Draco. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Anthony, for the introduction. I've been looking forward to this call the whole week after the game that we've played. So doing great and very excited to be in this episode.
Yeah. I think it was Alan Lau from the Frank Su Foundation kind of flagged you to me because I use Twitter a little bit, but I'm not like deep into it. So, and obviously I'm a United fan, so like I'm not generally going to go looking for Arsenal content creators or people involved with the club or whatever. But obviously Alan Lau from the Frank Su Foundation, with the work we've done, highlighted you obviously as a fellow Asian involved in football, diehard fan. Obviously, this podcast covers Arsenal and Man U, so he kind of said, you should check out Draco, what he's doing. He's doing some cool stuff. So, I've been following you for a little bit, man, and I thought this would be... Obviously, it's a sad thing that, the topic that we'll talk about a little bit has kind of become a thing, but it's something that I think we should definitely talk about. But before we get into it, let's talk about kind of get your opinions on the season. Obviously, you're a huge Arsenal fan. What have you made of this season? And do you have like a prediction of where you guys will finish? Hopefully with, I'm hoping I'm on loan at Arsenal because I need you guys to win the Prem. But where do you think you'll end up?
Yeah, sure. Should I go first or should?
Yeah, go for it, man. This is about you. We blabber about our opinions every week, so we want to hear yours, man.
Right, yeah. I was going to say that when I get asked about this question, it depends on the audience I'm speaking to. If it's just for the Arsenal fans, I'm confident to say we're going to win the league. But if there's from other teams, I'll probably be a bit more humble and be more realistic and say probably top 2 would be something that we're aiming for. Obviously, if we win the league, that'd be crazy. But I think ideally we can only get the second place. So, yeah.
Yeah, and what have you made of the season so far? Because obviously we've talked about it loads on the pod. It's felt like Arsenal, you didn't quite hit your stride at the beginning part of the season, but you were getting good results. I don't think you were playing poorly, but it just wasn't quite as like last season. You guys came out of the traps so quick, playing amazing football. And this season, I think it's kind of gone the other way around. You started a bit more, it was clear that Arteta was working out the system, the new players. But recently, turn of the year, I've said it, you guys have been unbelievable. But like, do you also feel that way going home and away? Is that also how you've seen it?
Yeah, same here. I think everyone knows since the Dubai training, the team came back very different. And I think compared to last season, I enjoyed this one much more just because that we started the season not as strong as last season and we didn't have like 11, 15 points ahead of City or Liverpool. So from the mental side, I wasn't too stressed going to home and away games. So I never thought that we would end up in today's position of fighting for champion again. So I think for me it's always easier to chase the top than maintaining the top. That's general feeling, but I think knowing Arteta and the young team, we always had the hope and the belief that one day we're gonna end up there. It's a sustainable thing. We're gonna be around for much longer. So even last season we didn't get what we wanted. This season we'll probably end up somewhere similar to last season too. So
yeah, no, I hear you, man. I think yeah, man, there's been progress. I'm going to bring John T in because obviously you're the Arsenal fan, so I don't want to dominate it. But do you agree with kind of Draco's analysis of the season? I know you're so Draco. If you haven't been watching the pod too closely, John T is very much a cautious Arsenal fan. He's I don't know if it's humble, but he's very cautious. So he's like, while you'll say we're going to win it or top two, I think John T. I'm going to let him speak for himself, but the vibe I've been getting from him is he's, we might even end up third. He kind of doesn't want to commit to anything. So, John, do you agree with Draco? And are you willing to, come out on the ledge and say you're going to win it, or still you're going to be cautious? What's happening?
I mean, after last season, I'm not coming out and being super, aggressive about anything, because at the end of the day, we couldn't get over the line, and we should have, right? And people want to say bottle, whatever the word is that you want to use. We kind of crumbled a little bit and couldn't face the pressure. And I think what Draco said about chasing top is always a less pressured position than being the one chased. And I think Liverpool, Man City both have a lot more experience being the one that leads, whereas we probably have a lot more experience being the one that's trying to chase even top four for a lot of the seasons previously. So from my perspective, I'd much rather, kind of Kelly Holmes sit at the back of the pack for the first, 8-9 laps, and then last lap just peg it to the finish. And it's a bit of a shame, really, that like our last run of fixtures aren't a little bit easier than they are now. But I think if we do end up winning it, which I'm not sure about, but if we do, I think you'll definitely be able to say that we earned it, because these last 7 fixtures plus the Champions League in it and having to play Bayern, etc., is hard. And I mean, I know that people will say, ours is not the hardest of the 3 run-ins. It's definitely not the easiest, though. So
no.
I think from that perspective, you add that onto the fact that we've done really well against like top 4, the best teams in the league this season. I think I'm optimistic, but if, not too optimistic. But at the same time, if we do end up doing it, I don't want to hear anyone take anything away from it, because it's been a real hard season. And I think last season even against top 4 sides, we weren't anywhere near as good as we are this time, right? Man City absolutely slapped us in that second game that we played against them. This season it's been a lot more even, and we've got 4 points from the 2 games. So yeah, if we can just stop having wobbles against West Ham and like these other kinds of teams, then I think we've got a very good shot. But 7 games still is a little bit too long for me to start predicting anything, to be honest with you, with any certainty.
All right, but I mean, Draco said first or second. I think, judging from the response, he kind of wants to say first, but he's going to say second to keep the audience honest, because we aren't just Arsenal fans. What are you going to say, Johns? Then would you agree, or do you think there's still a chance you'll finish third?
I mean, there's obviously a chance just with how close the pack are, but I would say that we're second, because I think, I don't know out of Liverpool or City, I still think Liverpool will be the favourites because of the Klopp effect. And the fact now that they look like they might be going out of the Europa League as well gives them a bit of extra time. So I think it'll probably be a Liverpool, Arsenal, City finish, and we come second.
Wow, okay. That's interesting. Like, just my 2 pennies. I've been saying it, and it's not Liverpool hate purely. It's a little bit, because obviously I hate them. But like, I think City are the ones to worry about. They've definitely got the easiest run in, and like maybe Champions League will affect them. But I still favour them to go past Real Madrid, although that was a great game, by the way. But so I think the City effect is what, if I was an Arsenal fan, which I on loan right now for you guys for the moment, I would be more worried about the City effect, less so the Liverpool one, because I think Liverpool have done so well to really stick up with you guys, because I honestly believe you guys, Arsenal and City, are the two best teams in the league at this moment. And Liverpool have kind of been somehow, maybe like you said, it's the Klopp effect. I don't know what it is, but they've kind of been dragging themselves up with you guys without kind of, I don't know if they've got the squad or like the team, or I think they're not at the level of maturity as you guys have taken the next step this season. City have kind of been there for a while, so I would kind of agree. I think you guys might finish second. I think you got a good shot for winning, but if you don't win it, I think City will be the ones that nick it from you and not Liverpool. But I don't know, Draco, are you worried about City more or Liverpool more, or kind of 50-50 between both of them?
I think I agree with you. Definitely City. I remember last game that I watched, Liverpool against United. As soon as they drew,
Yes.
I celebrated for 5 minutes, thinking, now we're top of league. And then after that, I sat down. I started to worry about, now, I mean, what if City got advantage and they probably end up being the top and become the second. So yeah, I fully agree with you. I feel like Liverpool's just, they're missing something over there, and I'm confident that they'll probably drop a few points here and there till the end of the season. So I think the trophy's there for us to grab, but then we need to win every single game. And if we don't fully focus on Premier League, then I think City can easily just come up and take the trophy. So yeah.
Yeah, no.
Are you hoping then that Tottenham on the last day of the season beat City to give us the title? Yeah.
Oh, I can't. I think after 90 minutes being United fan against Liverpool, I'm not going to support any other teams apart from Arsenal. Especially that United performance, I was thinking, oh, that's so hard to be a United fan, So
yeah, you felt my pain, mate, for 90 minutes. That's been my last 10 years since Fergie left, just constant pain. But now we'll get into the United bit now. Because I'm going to say I think you guys. I'm going to put out positivity, and I'm going to say you guys are going to win the league. So my prediction is Arsenal win. Arteta joins Klopp with one Premier League, and they're about equal as managers. I'd say after that, take that Liverpool. But let's get into the United bit then. You just talked about it, Draco. This season's not been fun. I'll kick it off and just I'll be honest with you guys. Yeah, it doesn't take a genius to work out. Man, this season's been a humbler. We've definitely not performed to the level that we kind of hoped off the back of last season. I think last season, it wasn't perfect by no means. We got slapped 7-0 at Anfield, never fun. We lost to you guys at the Emirates. We took some real blows. Europa League, we went out to Sevilla. But, I mean, obviously we lost the FA Cup final as well, which was the major big blow because City won the treble off the in part because of that. But this season has been such a disappointment. We sit in 6th right now. John T keeps asking me every week whether or not we got a chance in top 4. I keep telling him to shut up because there's no chance we're getting top 4. But what have you made of our season? And you can stick the knife in, bro. Don't worry. You can tell us we've been absolutely rubbish if you want. But yeah, honest appraisal as an Arsenal fan. What have you made of our season?
Let me try to phrase my opinions in a nice way, because usually I make banters with my United fans, so it's not the nicest comments coming from me. I don't know. I just feel like, I guess my question for you, Anthony, is that do you believe in Ten Hag and his tactics?
Look at John T nodding his head. All right, so we've had this conversation because I also get John T, my other mates who are not United fans, love getting the fishing rod out and hooking a big massive tuna with me when they ask about Ten Hag. I'll be honest, this season has really shaken my confidence in him. I think, like I said, last season wasn't perfect, but when he made big decisions, I would say 7-8 times out of 10 he got them right. Whether it was team stuff, dealing with player issues. He turfed our legend, one of our legends of our club, one of the GOATs of football. And I think most United fans kind of are still on his side because of it. So that kind of tells you a lot about, what he did last season. It wasn't perfect, though, I will admit, like I said just now. But generally, also in-game stuff, when we were, when things didn't look like they were going well, he affected things positively for the most part. This season, is flipped on its head. Like, I think some people argue that he's made the wrong calls with the off-field stuff, Sancho and stuff. I vehemently think he made the right decision with Sancho. I don't agree. But the thing for me that's made me shake a little bit with my confidence in him is his on-the-field stuff. His decision-making when the games are clearly not going well, they haven't worked out positively more times than not. And, we've said it on this pod a bunch of times, and, Carragher, even people that I hate are pointing it out. We don't have a midfield. We're a bagel. We're a donut. We've just got a big hole in the midfield that once you get past our attacking press, you're free reign to just attack our 4 defenders, who none of them are really good, defending space. So considering that, I'm one of these people where I wouldn't say like Ten Hag out, but I'm equally not saying like vehemently Ten Hag in. I think we've got to see how the rest of the season shakes out, and depending on how it works out, at the end of the day, the board, this new part owner guys, the Ineos lot and Sir Jim Ratcliffe, they're going to make their own decision. And if I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would probably say if we finish 6th, don't win the FA Cup, which I think is what a lot of us will predict in a minute. He's gone. They'll sack him and they'll get someone else in. And depending on who we get in will probably be the bigger thing that upsets me, because next season, if we did that, I wouldn't be like, get Ten Hag out. I would give him one more season. But I don't know if you think I'm just being a delusional United fan.
No, I think you're right. I'm just going to say that, as he said in a lot of press conferences, that there are a lot of injuries in United that might have affected. I know. I usually make fun of his press conference, but for my United my friends here, I'm just saying, missing especially Sandro Martinez and those key players might have played a part in some of the United losses. You guys are working with Johnny Evans and some other defenders that are not ideal for a top 4 fight, I would say. So I think injury is probably one part, and the second part is I think this season has been much more competitive compared to last season. So which it might explains why United is doing slightly worse than last season.
Yeah, I think you're being. I mean, you're doing my job for me. And Jonty's going to come in, and he did.
I'm about to go off. Wait a minute.
For the audio listeners who can't see, Jonty was playing, his best violin throughout. Like Draco's kind of, giving me a bit of a life jacket with some of your what you're saying. I agree with you though. I think the injury stuff it's a double-edged sword, because it's partly true, but at the same time, it's not groundbreaking stuff, because there's been so many teams that have struggled with injuries this season. We can't have the lone violin to act like we've been screwed over more than, let's say, Newcastle or something, Brighton even have been decimated by injuries. So I think it's part of the reason, but still, if the thing that I liked about Ten Hag last season was we did have some injuries. We also had Casemiro doing boneheaded things and getting suspensions. So we had some adversity when it came to the first team squad, but he was more flexible. He didn't necessarily try and play the same style with those people, and he worked out a way to not leave us so exposed. But this season, and me and Johns have talked about it separately, he's just continued down the same path, even when we've been missing certain players that would affect the style. Which, people are maybe praising, your guys' big rivals in North London for doing the same thing. But when you're getting spanked or you're losing games, or it's just so obviously a big problem, yeah, there's more scrutiny on United. You're going to get hammered. So yeah, Jonty, you've been waiting very patiently. Hit me with the hammer blow. Come on.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
No, I mean, on Draco's original question about Ten Hag, I think last season he prioritized results over everything, right? I think, and you have said to me before, like, you do think there was a style of some sort last season and it was relatively effective, which got you to the position that you were in. But since then, he's had a somewhat of not good signings, right? Like, I mean, a couple of them have worked out, but not to the overall benefit of your team. And I would say most of them have actually made your team worse or made your squad depth worse, which is partly the reason why things like injuries will massively affect you. I think your defense, where you didn't really, change too much, actually has been decent this season. The issue is that they're playing under a style that just puts them under crazy amounts of pressure all the time. Yeah. So I think he got transfers wrong. He's got your style wrong, whatever it is, of this high press and then low block at the same time with no one in midfield kind of style. He's got that wrong. And I think generally speaking, he's prioritized results over fixing what is wrong with United, right? Which is, I would say Arteta for the first couple of seasons at least, I would bloody hope he wasn't prioritizing results because we didn't get them. But he prioritized slowly shifting out the terrible players and the terrible parts of the overall structure and filtering back in some good stuff, right? Some good youngsters, some good fringe players that are still around today. I think with United, you guys have always just been results over everything. And I think it's been to your detriment because you look at, I don't want to applaud him very much, but you look at Tottenham, right? He consistently says, what do I care about top four? Right? Like, I'm here to fix this football club and get them to a point where top four is not the goal, it's to win the league. You guys are so focused and so almost righteous in thinking that you deserve to win the league every season and that you have to be the best team in the league every season, that you won't realize that you need to just rebuild your team. And in order to do that, you need to prioritize a style that works with a manager that's good and fix the rest of the things in the club. Right? Like, if you get the FA Cup this season, I think it could be the worst thing that ever happens to you because it's just another addition to what is already a very entitled fan base that thinks they deserve to win even when they're having one of their worst seasons ever. So I actually think go and lose the FA Cup. As long as City aren't getting another treble, just go and lose it. Let Ten Hag get shifted out. Let Ashworth and whoever else come in and just fix your club and realize that you guys are in the mud. And get back out of the mud before you start trying to pick up trophies.
No, I hear you, but I think I've had this back and forth. So maybe Draco, it would be good to get your opinion. But I think one of the greatest triumphs of Arsenal's last 4 years, you haven't really picked up any. I know Arteta got the FA Cup early doors, but like big major trophies, is your board's confidence and belief and support that they've given the manager, right? Because I think you're right, Johns. Arteta had a harder job with Deadwood and big egos and all this kind of stuff in the club to try and transform your team to where you are right now. But I tell you what, if he was doing that at Man U, he would have been sacked very, very early on because our board doesn't have that confidence, right? There's no way they would have, supported a manager through what was the right thing and the right process. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that the new guys that they're building around, I'm not even worried about Ten Hag. That's why the Ten Hag question, I get it, Draco. It makes sense because the football's been weird and not good. But my thing is I'm not even bothered about him. My thing is just worried about getting that football structure right. And then whatever decisions they make, you know what? We'll see whether they're right or not. But whether they decide to keep Ten Hag or not, I'm okay.
And I think Draco's in a perfect position to answer this, right? Back in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, right? Mm-hmm. Did Arsenal fans have the entitlement to think that we deserve to win? And did that then contribute to them saying, okay, we'll give Arteta a chance? Because what you're saying, Ants, is essentially, right, Arteta would never have survived at United. And that's not necessarily just because of the board. That's because of the fan pressure that they put on the board because they think that they deserve to win something. I think Draco, as an Arsenal fan, you tell me, I have not had high expectations for the last 15 years, right? Maybe for the first 5 I did, but for the last 10, 15, my expectations were in the absolute mud.
Yeah, so I think same here. I mean, I think we went to Europa final, which I hope that we
that was
won
painful.
that game.
Baku,
I think my head was spinning watching the end of the game. And after that, I think, I probably just gave up the hope that we would win Premier League or any major trophies for the next 4 or 5 years, which was rightly so, because if we look at our squad like 4 or 5 years ago, I'm not going to single out any players, but I just thought that this is not a squad that we're going to win Premier League. So, yeah.
No, you know what, man? I actually think this is why this podcast exists for us anyway, John. So obviously it's a hobby, but also because I actually think the Arsenal, like you guys, seem like very grounded, like, logical fans. But no, we've got them definitely. Man, there's a lot of Man U fans out here that are entitled, that believe we should win everything, that are hating all of this and are melting down every week. Arsenal. There were Arsenal fans like that. There were Arteta out shirts everywhere. Social media was full of them. A lot of Arsenal fans were going big on getting Arteta out early doors. So I actually think the fan pressure would be quite similar for Man U and Arsenal. I think the big kicker is you change your senior leadership. I think it was Josh Kroenke came in, right, the son of Stan, and they actually worked on the club. They got Edu in, which I think he's been revelation as well. I don't think Arteta only gets the credit. I think he's done amazing as well. And they've worked really well. And I think that duo and the belief that you've given they've not done it all, because you still have to do it on the pitch. You have to get the right players. Arteta has to do the right tactical things. But it's all together. And we haven't had that. Like the stuff you mentioned, Johns, is all indicative of our board. An FA Cup, by the way, will not matter. We've seen Louis van Gaal get sacked 5 minutes after an FA Cup. So they care about Champions League, which we're not going to get. So that would be more the deciding factor in our current leadership. But we've got a new one. So they're in the middle of forming it. So let's see how it goes. My prediction on the season, I think we'll end up 6th. We're definitely not going up, and I would be more worried about going down from there. So, but I'm gonna stay confident that we'll S-house enough results to stay in 6th. And the teams below us, Newcastle, I love sticking in on Newcastle. They've been stinking it up. And West Ham, up and down. I don't think any of those teams will be able to. They might make it close, but I think we'll just about nick 6th. But Draco, where do you think we'll finish? Do you think it will be 6th, or do you think we'll keep dropping?
I think I was going to say you guys could probably finish 5th as well. You might call me crazy, but I feel like you guys might just go for the Europa. This Sunday, hopefully, we'll beat Aston Villa, and I feel like Villa might drop a few points, and then, if I'm being very optimistic for you, maybe Europa will be.
You're being so kind. You're being so kind. But I hear you. I've also said Villa have been looking shaky. So if there's an outside chance at all, it would be them. I don't think Spurs, sadly for you guys, are going to flop it that badly. But even then, I just think the gap's so big. Like Villa would literally have to do a Leicester of 5 years ago when they were 3rd and somehow finished 5th for us to get close. So yeah. I think 6th is probably right. John, you're definitely going to say lower, aren't you?
No, actually, so I think there's a master plan here, and I saw it the other day. I think a delusional Man United fan tweeted it. If I can't remember what it was, but if West Ham win the Europa League, and I can't remember if they finish, I can't remember where it was, but if they finish 5th and win the Europa League, then there's another extra Champions League spot or something like that. So I'm thinking. I think, to be honest with you, all jokes aside, I think you'll probably finish 6th. I think the teams below you, there's no one that seems to be really coming up the rear, really strong in any kind of capacity. I think everyone's kind of a bit stinky around that area. A lot of them have been having poor results recently. A lot of them have dropped off a lot. Newcastle, West Ham, Brighton, none of them look like a massive threat to you, really. And I think really most of that area will probably finish up where they are right now. The The only thing is, if Villa really drop off, which is entirely possible because some of the results I've seen from them recently have been shocking outside of the game that they just played against Lille. Their Premier League results have not been very good. And long may that continue. I hope that continues at least for this weekend. But if they have a real terrible run of games, then there's every chance you could come fifth. But yeah, I think sixth is a safe bet.
Yeah, no, I think that's. I'm hoping, I'm praying, man. I think that's the best we can do, and yeah, we'll focus on what we have in the FA Cup. Let's go on the Champions League then. What do you guys think? Obviously, there was a big game. We won't delve into that too much, but do you guys think, do you think your Champions League run will end in the quarterfinals, or are you hopeful of going to the next round or winning it? Like Draco, how do you think this Champions League will play out for you?
I think it's a hard question. I picked this football shirt to wear just to fit the Champions League theme. Look, I think before we played against Bayern, I was being very optimistic to my Arsenal fans, saying that 5 more wins will win the Champions League. That's just me being very optimistic. I think if we try really hard, the second leg will probably beat Bayern if Arteta plays tactics right. But then having watched Real Madrid and City's game, I don't see us beating them. They're so clinical. They're so mature. I don't think we'll have a chance to go past them. But if we do, then I think final will be easier for us. So I think I'll be happy if we go past Bayern and then just
Champions League final will be easy for us, yeah. If we get past them, okay. I'm loving the confidence.
No.
Even the other side, man. I worry about Atletico. I worry about everybody, bro.
I hear it though. Like on paper, the side that you guys are in is all-time hellish, because I honestly believe the 4 best teams left in the competition are in your side. So I get it. You get through the hardest, side of the draw. The teams left are, in quality terms, I think you guys are better. But Jonty makes a fair point. Like getting Simeone in the Champions League final is what nightmares are made of. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night thinking of that, because the Shousery that will be on show, that will all-time levels. But I actually agree with you, man. I think semi-finals is where you guys will bow out. I think you'll find a way. You've made it hard for yourself, but I think you'll find a way in the quarterfinal. But I think just that Real Madrid, Man City, they're not perfect. Neither one of those teams are not perfect, but just, they're just quality on show. They're just maturity. I think might be one step too far for you guys, because I think Champions League Arsenal have been different than Premier League Arsenal. I think there's, you guys are still finding your feet in Europe, I think, and that would be. I mean, I'll tell you what, if you get through them, I don't know. I would probably be like Draco. I would be next level confident, because that it would take some big time cojones to get through those 2 ties to get to the final. I could understand just riding away for confidence, but I think semi-finals is probably where you guys will shake out. What do you think, John? So are you gonna go all scary and think your quarterfinals out, or what?
No, I agree with Draco. I think we have enough to beat Bayern. It's just the question is, will everything else around that time be going well for us to really focus on that? I think if we beat Bayern, I want City. I really don't want to play Real Madrid, because I think Real Madrid, I mean, talk about having heritage and all that, right? Like Bayern Munich, all-time stinky Bayern Munich right now, still have that heritage element, that vibes element, that they don't have to be good. They can have a manager that's been announced is leaving at the end of the season and still somehow, get 2 goals against us and make us look terrible. So times that by 20, and then you've got Real Madrid, right? It's just absolute unbelievable in terms of individual brilliance, but then they've got Carlo Ancelotti, who's been there, done it a million times before, and they've got just the heebie-jeebies of being so successful in the Champions League. So I'm going to say we go out I reckon we go out in the semis, and I think it will probably be to Real, because I think Real will actually go and beat City at the Etihad. So if we lose to Real, like I'm not going to be all that bothered, but I really need us to maintain this like winning streak over City, that like mental edge. And if we go and play them in the semi-final and lose, mental edge gone. So yeah, I think we'll go out in the semis to Real.
Yeah, I just hate all English ties in the Champions League, and generally when we've been in them, we've done all right. Like we played the Champions League semi-finals all those years ago, but like I remember Liverpool played Chelsea non-stop during the like Mourinho Benitez era, and while it was kind of intriguing, I don't know. I just feel like it's not. You don't want to win the Champions League with too many like big games against your Premier League rivals. I remember when we played Chelsea in the Champions League final that last time we won it, and knowing you have to then play, your Prem rival in the deep in the Champions League, it can have an effect on the title, like you said. It definitely can affect it in a way. So I think, yeah, probably semi-finals is fair. Let's get on to the FA Cup stuff then. My only bit of hope, joy, potentially, of the season. We're playing Coventry. My God, if we don't win that, I might have to like sit football out for a little bit and go to like Bali or something and do like some sort of wellness retreat for a while, because I don't know if I can handle that. So I think we're going to get through. We'll play City, and I think we'll lose in the final to Man City. So that's my prediction. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I think it's a final defeat to City again, 2 years in a row. Not fun times. But what do you think, Draco?
Yeah, given that if you guys go past Coventry, because I had a look, I think they're doing pretty. I see John T laughing over there. I think Coventry's been doing quite well in Championship this season. They've beat Watford and Leeds United, obviously Wolverhampton as well. So I think, yeah, if you guys can go past Coventry, if I were you, I would be optimistic. I think that maybe United will be able to win the final against City. You never know. So. That's
I love that.
That's how you know
if you get past Coventry, who are doing really well in the Championship.
Oh my God, this is how you know we're such pigsty settings that like people are chucking if before we play Coventry. Like it's. I get it though. I'm not even mad at you, Draco. I get it. We stink. So it's a prime banana skin situation, isn't it? But I just hope the occasion will be so big, and that the Coventry players will kind of get a bit overawed, and our maturity or our kind of experience will take us over the line. But I'm not ruling it out. I don't think it's impossible. I would be shocked and I'll be so devastated, but I don't think it's impossible.
But jokes aside, I think if United can get to the final, and if they're playing in City, I wouldn't say that City would definitely win the final. It'll be a 50-50 game. I know United, but that's everything left for them. So they'll probably go out there and try to win the final as well. I don't think City has been doing that well in those big games. Haaland's been quiet. I think De Bruyne hasn't been fully fit. So you've got reasons to be optimistic. And
I don't know if you're setting me up for failure, man. I don't know if you're just setting me up.
Get him up and then slap him down.
But I hear you though. You're right though. I'm worried about Foden. Because last time when we played them in the league, I know Haaland missed an open goal from it was crazy. Like he missed that he like 9 times out of 10 he scores it. But apart from that, he was very quiet. And we've got rubbish centre backs. We haven't got Saliba or Gabriel or anyone like that. We've got rubbish, right? You pointed that out earlier, and we managed to keep him pretty quiet. So I'm not even that worried about Haaland. If you remember the FA Cup last year, Haaland did now either. It was Gundogan that destroyed us that day. So I'm more worried about Foden just because it seems like he's developing this like big game gene. Like he scored an unbelievable goal in the Bernabeu. He's been like kind of their big standout player this season. So I hear you though. I think we've got a chance in the final, but I don't know if I'd go as high as 50-50. I think that might be being kind to us. What do you think, Johns? Do you think we're going out to Coventry, or do you think we're winning it?
I would love to see it. No, I would love to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think you will get to the final. And really, the thing that I would love to see the most is Man United against Chelsea in the final, because I want to see Cole Palmer come up against you guys again, because that was fun. And also, just for the general love of football, like I've said before, watching City and even sometimes Arsenal is is not all that fun, right? Like from a neutral perspective, because it's total domination in a lot of cases, right? And so, like, when you see Man City play Arsenal, for example, it's not a very exciting game for the most part because they're kind of cancelling each other out. So if we really want to have a very enjoyable watch, then I would say United against Chelsea is probably the most enjoyable, even team kind of match you can find. I think if Coventry go through, they're getting slapped regardless by it doesn't matter who. So I think we'll get
Coventry
to the final.
got a chance against Chelsea. Coventry got a chance against.
Yeah, but that would be that would be
Chelsea
laughable because Chelsea would just kick the ball into their own net 3 times and
yeah, but I mean, I'm not trying to banter Chelsea fans that badly, right? Like you beat us last week in El Madico, but Chelsea have played Championship teams already like 2 or 3 times in this FA Cup run and struggled. So, like, when we've played the lower teams, we've actually done all right. Like, I know we had that Fleetwood game or wherever it was where, they equalised for a brief moment, but we went on to win. But Chelsea have been like that. That would not be a given. Obviously, I think they'd still win. But if City play Coventry, that's done. That's completely over. Yeah. But I agree with you, man. For the neutral, and I think that would be a real 50-50. United-Chelsea would be a real 50-50. And I would be bricking it throughout the whole, the whole game. Because if it's anything like that last league game, I might have a stroke. Because I think it was chaos. It was madness. Absolute madness, that game.
But I agree with Draco. If you go through and play City in the final, it's a lot closer than everyone will say it is. I think you still have that mental thing where you can give Liverpool and City and Arsenal a hard game, even if you're in the worst season of your absolute history. So I do imagine you'd lose it though, just because of like overall quality. They've got, as you said, I think it's not the Haalands you need to worry about. It's the creative players like the Fodens, the Bernardo Silvas, the De Bruynes. They're the ones that are going to cause you issues. And because your midfield is almost non-existent on the defensive end. So yeah, I predict you're going to lose the final to City as well, unfortunately. And I just hope it's not to give them the treble.
Yeah, I mean, a double treble would kill me. Like, one treble already hurt. Like, if you've watched
it would be the double treble, and they would have won the Premier League 4 times in a row. So they would have done 2 things that you could never have done. So,
yeah, this is why I'm on loan to Arsenal. It's logical. It's logical, guys. I can't have that. They would just destroy me. But anyway, that's enough of talking about our teams. Obviously one very good and one absolute rubbish. Let's go on to the next section of the pod then, and talk to you a little bit, Draco, about kind of yourself and your journey, but also this topic of
Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. One of the perks about having 4 kids that you know about is actually getting a direct line to the big man up north. And this year, he wants you to know the best gift that you can give someone is the gift of Mint Mobile's unlimited wireless for $15 a month. Now, you don't even need to wrap it. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited. See mintmobile.com for details.
Plastic tourist fans, which has kind of been sparked quite a lot recently because of season ticket prices have gone up at different Premier League teams, and a lot of the match going fans of many years have started pointing fingers. But let's get into you first. Like tell us a little bit about yourself, like your background, how you became an Arsenal fan, like what was the moment that kind of somehow diverted you to support the Gunners?
Yeah, sure. I grew up in China, so I think like a lot of fans that get labeled as tourist fans in the UK, I shared a similar path as them growing up. I had to secretly wake up at 2-3 a.m. Avoid my parents and have to be very quiet walking down the stairs so they don't wake up hearing that. Sneak into the living room to watch the game, and watch from 2 to 4 a.m. and then go back to sleep and pretend nothing happened. So that's been most of my experience growing up watching football in general. I wouldn't say that I was just born as an Arsenal fan or anything. I started as a football fan first. My cousin watches a lot of football. He likes Barcelona, and I know, John. He likes Barcelona, and he watches a lot of World Cup footballs. I think he's got different teams, but the first one we watched together was 2010, when I think he supported the Dutch team. So he's played a bit of influence in my life and liking football. And my connection, my relationship with Arsenal, I think started in probably 2006 when we went to the Champions League final. Obviously we lost it, but we had a lot of great players. And then 2006, and then we had Robin Van Persie and we had Rosicky. So I've been watching Arsenal for a few years without saying that I'm a committed Arsenal fan. But then I think what really changed was when Thierry Henry came back to the team. And then I learned everything about Thierry Henry, and then watching him scoring against Leeds. And then next year we signed Mesut Ozil and everything. That was when I realized, okay, I really like this team. Arsene Wenger plays absolute elegant football. So yeah, that's when I call myself a diehard Arsenal fan, and I would never miss a single game. And that's when I started to get laughed by my cousin a lot, because he supports Barcelona. At that point, that team was really strong, and then we faced them almost every year in the Champions League. So it's been tough growing up as an Arsenal fan, because I kind of missed all the glorious period of the team.
Yeah.
And in China, I think the biggest teams would be Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Man United. And I think United fans gave me a lot of laughs too when I was in secondary school, when Robin Van Persie won the Premier League.
The little boy inside, he has to listen to it. Man. But no, I want to give you a huge shout out for that, because me and John's, obviously our background, our dad is Chinese, but like we lived in China. John's lived there for 4 or 5 years. I lived there for 10, 11 years. When I was a United fan already growing up in the UK. But I tell you what, man, the level of dedication of Chinese and Far East or fans like in Australia or whatever is unrivaled. To wake up at the crazy hours, like you said, I couldn't cope with it. I'll be honest. I find it difficult here just keeping up with all the games going on at, in the normal daytime. But to be able to wake up, Champions League used to be the killers because they were 7, 8 p.m. just in, Chinese time, terrible, middle of the night, early morning. It's a struggle. So I think when we get into this discussion in a little bit, I think, a lot of people got to bear that in their mind when they kind of, question the dedication and the sacrifice that a lot of, overseas fans do for their team. It's next level, man. I think the amount of people I remember, and this is selfishly going down the United route, watching the Champions League final. I was at a big bar in Beijing, and it was 3, 4 a.m. That match obviously went into penalty shootout, 4, 5 a.m. The bar was packed. This is 4, 5 a.m. You know what I mean? It was packed, and there were dedicated, big diehard fans everywhere watching it. So yeah, big respect for you for that, man. But John,
that's why I moved to the UK. That's why I moved to UK, because I couldn't cope with waking up at 3 a.m.
To be honest, fair enough, man. I get it. That is, I don't know how you can live that life. But John, do you want to get into the question, because I know you're interested in?
I was just gonna say another bit of respect needs to go, that you chose to become an Arsenal fan at the exact time where we stopped winning things. So no one can even call you a glory hunter. You know what I mean? Right? So that's typically a lot of the title that comes with the plastic fan thing, is they also tend to be supporting the teams that are the biggest at the time, right? So
yeah.
The fact that you have slogged through a really, really tough 20 years as an Arsenal fan just goes to show, there's a lot of respect in that. Because, when I was in Beijing and we were that terrible, I'm not waking up for anything, mate. I'm not waking up to watch any of that, right? I'll watch the highlights afterwards. I won't even do that sometimes based off of how bad we were. So there's a massive amount of respect that needs to be given for that, because, man, it completely changes your emotional state. I don't know how you were getting up and going to school after some of those nights that we had, mate. I would have just had my head in the pillow all day.
That's why I'm always optimistic and say that we're going to win the league since last season. It's trained me to have a big heart, so it's good.
Yeah, no, that makes so much sense. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about your role as the ethnic minority supporters representative. Like, I don't even know how you like how do you even get that role? How do you like become one? Is it something that you like? How do you get in dialogue with the club, and like what do you have to do? Do you have special duties on a match day, or like what do you do as part of that?
So I think how I saw the job advert was I was just browsing on Twitter or something. I follow Arsenal, and then one day they posted that we have a vacancy as a minority supporter representative. Submit your application. So I click on the link. I had a look, and then they were just asking for my basic information and my connection to the community, what I'm aiming to do within the club, stuff like that. So I think I was still in university when I submitted that form. I didn't think the club would ever get back to me. I thought I would just fill it anyways. And a few weeks after, they reached out to me and said I've been selected to be the ethnic minority fan rep. And then the next meeting we'll host on Zoom. I think that was COVID times. So I think the forum has always been there. There are different roles. Apart from there is the red, silver, and gold members representative. So that's the 3 membership tiers in Arsenal Football Club. There are a representative from Gay Gunners. That's for the LGBTQ roles. There's a women's rep, fan for disabled, and then there are also other fan engagement representatives. So it's a mix of different supporters that represent different interests, but then come together to a forum that we meet almost quarterly to discuss the club's operations and ticketing, any topics that's on the table. But then for me, I just gather all the feedbacks on the diversity, inclusion, and equality stuff, and then bring to the table and ask the club, what we're gonna do, how we tackle these kind of issues. So I think when I was elected, that was around the Black Lives Matter movement. I think that's when Premier League or Arsenal really started to look at this EDI perspective of football. So I think, it's been quite a journey, and I've seen a lot of football clubs, not just Arsenal, making huge steps into this field. And I think as an ethnic minority supporter in Premier League, we should be proud of how far we've gone to, and I'm confident that in the future we will even make more improvements to this aspect.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I definitely agree. Like, I don't know how you feel, Johns, but going to football in the last couple of years, it's definitely a lot better. The experiences for me, comparatively speaking, to when we'd kind of gone when we were younger, it's definitely improved. Like, it's not there completely yet. I feel like it's not a haven. I've been to some women's football games, and the atmosphere there is, I think, closer to kind of maybe what the men's side want to achieve. But it's improved a lot, man. I think sometimes that gets lost when we discuss like some of these big issues. We also have to recognize that there's been big strides because of people like you, and like you said, the other representatives kind of getting to the table and sharing your thoughts and your suggestions and stuff. But let's get into this big debate then. I want to get your opinion. I've seen you on Twitter talk about it before. This tourist plastic versus real fan debate. Like, do you think this is actually something that is an issue in football, or do you think that this is just like a thinly veiled form of discrimination against certain types of people in the ground? Like, what's your honest opinion?
I think for me it's very serious, and it's got everything linked with xenophobic behaviors and discriminations. So when I apply for this fan rep work, I was saying that I want to use my backgrounds to help the club to stop all forms of discriminations. And then the least I expect is to have discriminations directed against East Asians, because going to Arsenal games for the first few years, it was quite easy for me. I didn't get any type of discriminations. And then the recent 2-3 seasons see Arsenal's performance going up, and then more supporters going back to the stadium. And then I think East Asians are always the group that gets called out, and we just suddenly become tourists despite going to the Emirates Stadium for the past 5 or 10 years. So yeah, I think that's a huge problem, and it really disencouraged a lot of East Asian fans around me who have supported Arsenal through thick and thin. I think, yeah.
Yeah,
yes,
no,
I mean,
go on, John.
I wanted to ask you, like, where do you think it comes from? Obviously, we understand where discrimination general tends to come from, but like specifically the plastic fan kind of debate. Where do you think that stems from, and why do you think it is that people are trying to single out, East Asians specifically as being the ones that are the plastic fans versus other races and
Yeah, I think from my observation, number one is that, from last season, the ticket has been so expensive in the second-hand market. And people just probably automatically think that Asians who travel afar from other countries who are more affluent they're more likely to spend 200, 300 or 500 to buy a ticket. And then that, in some people's mind, that disturbs the market, and then that make them not able to go to a football game. So it's very easy for them to just point the finger at Asians who think they are who's got money and no real football passion to go to a game and take their seats. That's one. I think two is a lot of international fans, not just Asians, when they go to a football game in the UK, they would want to capture the moment. So they'll be using their phones to film a lot of the clips. Versus in the UK, people just take their phone out to film maybe a corner, a penalty, or a free kick, and that's it. But then for international fans, they'll be filming probably not whole game, but at least like 40 or 50 minutes of time. So people are thinking that they are not here in the crowd chanting for the team. They're just wearing an Arsenal scarf, and they're just there to film. What's the point of being here to waste your seats and not support your team? At least in the way that the local people think that how a supporter should behave. So those two factors playing all together, and it will make people think that this person's just plastic, the tourists. They're not a real fan compared to the majority of the home fans here.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with you 100%, man. And a couple months back, me and Jonty went to Dortmund to watch a game as like a a little kind of a birthday getaway for him. And honestly, we behaved exactly that way. And obviously, like, we aren't Dortmund diehards, so in essence, that would be kind of a fair critique. But at the same time, we're huge football fans, and I don't see a problem with going and experiencing other, games in the same way that international fans finally, get to come to the UK and support their fans at the games. I think it's totally fine. Like I get there's certain gripes, right? The half and half scarf thing, I think that unifies all fans. Pretty much all fans think that that's kind of a stupid thing that exists in the first place. But even that, like I get it. Like when I said off camera to Draco, I've been to the Emirates with Jonty. I've watched the game. You see tourist fans or fans who have come that are tourists and not necessarily regulars with season tickets or anything like that, and they contribute to the atmosphere. All right, maybe they're not like shirts off, bellies out like the Newcastle diehards and singing in the snow and stuff like that, but they contribute to the atmosphere, and it's a positive thing, I think, that they bring. But I think you're right, man. I think there's elements of xenophobia which kind of exist in our society a little bit that come out in football and that, but there's also like realistic, direct problems that they think come from it when potentially tourist fans or foreign fans are spending more money on tickets. It's harder for them to get them, or they have to pay more, and they kind of feel like it's foreigners stealing our jobs kind of attitude to football.
Well, I mean, from that, do you then think? I mean, Draco, what's your opinion then on the kind of rising ticket prices? If that's essentially causing some of the issue that we're talking about, because it's essentially misdirected anger, right? They're saying, "Oh, I can't get a ticket. Who can I blame?" I'm not going to blame the club. I'll blame the people that are paying their money towards the club and actually helping indirectly to the club to buy the people that we buy, like Rice, etc. What do you think about the whole rising ticket? Because I think obviously, was it yesterday? I can't remember. Was it Liverpool? I think they had a mini protest of sorts where they didn't fly any flags for the game because of rising ticket prices as like a way of protest. So what's your kind of viewpoint on that?
Are we talking about the rising ticket prices from the club, or is it the second?
No, just in general, like obviously how the club controls tickets out there, you know, obviously because there's marketplaces and stuff. I know a lot of clubs trying to crack down on that so that we can stop the inflated prices and also just general rising ticket prices as things go up. Like, how do you think that we solve that issue to maybe get rid of some of the other misdirected anger that's coming with it?
Yeah, I think I've attended a lot of ticketing workshop with Arsenal. They've been trying so hard to stop all sorts of ticket touts since we started perform well. And I know they've put tremendous work into this initiative. They've spent a lot of money, resources, budget and stuff into looking this. But I think it will always happen. We can't stop people from selling their tickets on second-hand market. The club has banned, I think this season, 30k memberships for selling their tickets or having some suspicious behaviors in the system. But I think there will always be one or two tickets that will appear on the market, and then people always think that someone will buy it. So I don't think we can ever stop this kind of illegal ticket out behaviors. But then every time I go to ticketing workshop, I kind of speak to the club and go like, you know, one thing is that there are international fans spending money to buy those inflated tickets, but then on the other hand, I want to make sure that no East Asian fans will be targeted by the club themselves to think that, you know, if you come here, you're a tourist, you probably have spent hundreds of pounds to buy tickets because you see me here in ticketing workshop. I have a season ticket. So it's really hard to play the balance of, you know, stopping this kind of ticket touting behaviors and then also ensuring that there's a equal approach to all fans, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right, John. So I get like there is, I think, a certain extent misdirected anger about the prices, but I think there's like they got to fix that. But you know that's kind of like that's an economic issue. That's something that's got loads of different factors, right? Why prices are set and all that kind of stuff. It gets a bit techie, but if we just talk about the obvious thing, which is just, I guess, showing a bit of respect to these international fans, East Asian fans in particular, that seem to always get targeted. And just, you know, I don't know. I wanted to ask you, Draco, what can be done to I guess, educate some of these fans or try and get them to not have this, you know, feeling or bias towards East Asian fans to think, oh, if I see you, Draco, sitting in the season ticket seat, I'm going to assume that you're, you know, a half and half scarf guy who's just come here for the weekend or whatever. Like, how do we deal with that issue?
I think after a few meetings with the club, I kind of gave them 4 points to look into to tackle this kind of situation. I think that was after the incident in the Chelsea away game when one of our female East Asian supporters got targeted by a person behind her for filming the game, and the person threw kind of rubbish into her hood and called her out for some racial slurs. So the 4 points I told the club, one is we need to educate the crowd more to raise the awareness. I think Arsenal's doing a great job in the EDI fields. If you guys have been to Arsenal game, halftime we play the Skate Gunners education piece on, you know, homophobic behaviours is not acceptable. So I've spoken to the club and they are looking into the possibility of, you know, filming something similar to say that, you know, discrimination is not acceptable. East Asians or any other supporters around you, they're the same as you. We support the same team. So it's just how the club is going to deliver this and then get the message right, in line with the Premier League's, you know, no room for racism. At the same time, making a powerful, good comms out there to deliver the message. That's the first point. But then at the same time, we need to recognize that we can't stop racists being racist. If they want to discriminate, we can't educate and just make them stop being discriminative. But then we can have a strong enforcement around the stadium. You know, if you are discriminating supporters, then you're going to face a lifelong ban. You're going to lose a season ticket. That's the second point. And then the third one is to kind of collaborate and give a platform to East Asian supporter groups in Premier League clubs. So for Arsenal, I'm trying to combine and connect all the Arsenal Japan, Arsenal China, Arsenal Korea fans together to have a group together in the club, and then they can connect us to other ethnic minority supporter clubs or other local supporter trusts, and then we can host more events together to raise awareness. So that's the third point. And the last one is to have a stronger reporting mechanism. So one of the problems that we had was West Ham away, and there were 4 East Asians seated together, and then they were late to the game for probably 2 minutes. The seats got taken by 4 teenagers, and they refused to leave the row, saying that they're tourists, they don't deserve to be here, so we're going to take your seats anyways. And then I think what they told me was that some supporters behind them also said, yeah, they probably are tourists, to kind of justify their behaviors. So there were some arguments going on for 10 minutes. The East Asian supporters spoke to the steward at West Ham, but then that incident it wasn't reported by the steward to the club. And then when we were looking into the incident to investigate, there's no record. We couldn't investigate further. So we need to have a stronger reporting mechanism to make sure that all the reports, all the incidents are recorded in the system. And then in the future, the club can use the cameras, CCTVs in the stadium to target those people who were suspected being racist. And then I think these 4 points combining together might provide a solution to it. But I recognize there's a long way to go, and it's just a starting point at the moment. So
yeah, no, I've got. Go on.
One more point out. I think we're facing this problem only because Arsenal is doing so well. But I spoke to one of my friends saying that if we lose next 10 games and next season we're fighting for relegation, then the problem will just disappear. So it's an issue that we need to recognize that it comes with the team's performance and achievements. As I said, I think past 5-6 years at the end of Wenger times, I never had any problem going to a game because the stadium's half empty anyways. So no one's going to blame us for being there. But at the same time, they probably think that these people are tourists anyways.
Yeah. No, I mean, to be honest, all of those points, I kind of feel like it's kind of a tap-in, right? Those are things that, I mean, I appreciate you've spent time, coming up with the points, but there are things that you would hope, in society, you would hope people would be doing those things already, right? You'd hope all of these things are in place. But yeah, obviously if they're not, or they're not being, they're not being done properly, that's something to address. And like you said, I think a good point is you can't eradicate anything completely, right? Or there might be some ways, but you almost have to become authoritarian to do that. In this society, it's very difficult to do it.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Like you said, all you can try and do is come up with some solutions to try and eradicate the problem, as much as possible. But, if someone wants to be racist, if someone finds a way around it and manages to do some discriminatory behavior, ultimately, as long as you're following those steps, there's not much else you can really do, right? But it would certainly make a big impact because you want to see want to see fans from all backgrounds in the stadium. You want to see fans behaving well and treating each other with respect and not, discriminating against people. And, I can't believe that you're a unicorn, Draco. You seem like a very special guy, but I mean, just like, that there are loads of East Asian diehard season ticket fans of all the different clubs. Not every single East Asian that comes to a stadium is a tourist. Like that, we can say 100%. So people, just use a bit of common sense, be respectful to, your fellow supporters. And like you said, hopefully we can all, exist together in happiness and peace, and hopefully our teams do well. But no, man, I appreciate you jumping on, Draco, and chatting that through. I honestly haven't seen anywhere else on, the football content creator space talk about this issue and come up with solutions, like you said. Like it's great to have you in this role with Arsenal, and hopefully it spreads out wider. John, do you have any other kind of things you wanted to ask or say around this topic?
I had one. It's just a throwaway type question. I just want to say, ask you a question. Like, since we've had Asians in the team, have you seen any change in that? Because I mean, like, for example, almost every Man United fan I've ever met, even sometimes will compare me to Ji-sung Park, but in a nice way, right? They're trying to mean it because they love him so much, and they've got so much respect for that kind of player. I know now with Tottenham, obviously they have such respect for Son. From your point of view, Tomiyasu, I think he's quite well liked in the general squad. I think the fan base generally likes him as well, even when he's not having his best times, or even if he's not on the pitch necessarily. And I just wanted to ask you, just out of interest, like, have you seen any kind of difference since we've had Tomiyasu around to the behavior towards like East Asian fans?
I think yes and no for me. Well, one thing to highlight is that most of the racist incidents that happens is away games. So home games, I think most supporters are reasonable. They don't just go out there and discriminate, even they think that you are a tourist or you come from a different country. It's usually the away games that's more competitive in terms of getting a ticket. That'll happen. But no, I think people just remain the same. There was once I walked into a Gunners pub. I was wearing a similar outfit as Tomiyasu, and he didn't play that day. And someone was asking at the back of my, at the back was saying, "Is this person Tomiyasu coming to the pub?" So I was thinking, oh, that's interesting. I'm not sure if I want to get this kind of attention though, because I went to a Spurs away game, and after the game, I think we won last season. I had to cover my shirt so they couldn't tell that I'm an Arsenal fan, right? And then there was a Spurs fan that came up to me and just said, "I'm sorry, mate, but Son plays so bad today."
For God's sake.
I was laughing inside, but I think I replied, I said something like, "Yeah, he's absolutely horrible." I hope But after that, I was thinking, do I really get happy that I just get approached by some randoms and say that Son's played terrible just because I'm Asian? So it's an interesting point, but I never given too much thought about it. I think, yeah. And one more thing about Spurs, I think I was on Twitter seeing a lot of Spurs fans tweeting, saying that it's a disgrace that there are so many Korean tourists in the stadium taking their seats and waving Korean flags. So I thought, Son is the best player, and he brought so many international fans over to the stadium. Yet there are still some radicals calling them out, and they're the tourists. So I don't think a player would change those people who are racist.
No.
I mean, they should just be happy that they've got anyone in their stands, because they absolutely stink to watch. So they should be happy anyone's in their fan base.
Yeah, I mean, he's their best player. So, and I'll be real. I'm sure Daniel Levy is very happy he's got a player from Korea that plays in his team. And I've heard a lot of stuff about he will never sell Son. And, apart from the fact he's an amazing player, because of a lot of the commercial benefits that, not only the fans come in, sponsorships, all these kind of things. So, yeah, I think it's those idiots, I'll call them idiots for this purpose, don't understand what the benefits that, having an amazing player like Son does to their team. I know you guys
but
might not love him because of his Spurs allegiance, but
yeah. I would say most of the fans are reasonable, and they're not. They're decent and they behave nice to international fans. And what can make us happy is that I think the Premier League and all Premier League clubs are really looking to improve this EDI aspect, and we have great friends and stuff around us, like Alan himself, connecting all the East Asian fans together from different clubs. So I would have an opportunity to know people like you guys. We can exchange our ideas and make this connection. And if anything were to happen, we can be more united together to face this problem rather than individual clubs and minorities from those clubs to face these problems alone. So I think
definitely.
Very well said. Very well said.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. I agree. Let's get on to the fun bit, John. So you've got a very special question that you want to ask Draco, don't you?
I do. I've asked every single guest, and I'll ask you all the same. And I think your answer might hold even a bit more weight. And my question is, who is your favorite Asian player of all time?
Oh yeah, I forgot that at the beginning. You guys said that you're gonna ask me this question. I was thinking, Tomiyasu. Who else can I say that's my favorite?
Doesn't have to be current, by the way. It can be all time.
Yeah,
so it can be
anyone.
It can be anyone.
Okay, let me just put this one out there. I respect Son as a player, but he's not going to be one of my answers.
Shock.
So yeah, if at the moment, I guess it'll be Tomiyasu, for sure. There are a few other Japanese players that I really like.
Yeah, because you said like when you were growing up watching Champions League football, and I remember there were a lot of class Japanese players that were playing around that time.
Yeah.
But did you have a particular favourite out of any of those?
I just don't want to say it because they didn't play for Arsenal. I don't want to say their name. So I'm trying to search an Asian player that's played for Arsenal, and that's my favorite. I think it would be Tomiyasu. But apart from that, I think
Tomiyasu's definitely the best. He's the best Asian player that's played for Arsenal because you've had a few. I think you had Inamoto back in the days. I remember with the gold shirt and the bleach blonde hair and stuff. Yeah, you had Miyachi. Yeah. You've had Park Chu-young, who I think was their Korean player for a little while.
Wait, does Nico Yanaris count?
Oh yes, of course.
Because he plays for China now, right?
Yeah. I still watch him when China plays sometimes.
Plays for Guan as well. I might go and watch
Beijing,
him next time I'm in Beijing, mate.
Are you guys
yeah, I have to be.
Yeah.
I'm from the area, so I hate Beijing.
All right, so I like that. That's the social media derby as well. But no, yeah. I mean, Nico Yanaris, did he even play? I don't know if he actually played a lot of senior games for Arsenal, though, right? That's the only thing. I think he kind of left early on.
He played one. I'm looking it up now. Over his 3-year period, he played one. He had one appearance.
You can say it, but I think, come on.
He was in the same group as Harry Kane, I think. They have photos together.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
That's interesting. I mean,
back when Harry Kane was on the right side of North London, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I'd probably say Tomiyasu is probably your best player that you've had, of an Asian background. But yeah, no, I mean, those Champions League days, who was around? Nakamura, I guess, was around. Honda was around.
I think Kagawa would be my favorite.
Oh yeah,
apart from Tomiyasu, played for Dortmund. Really liked how he played. You guys talk about going to Dortmund for a game. I did too, just to see Kagawa. I think it was last season for him, but he didn't play that game. He was injured.
Oh man. So... Oh, that's pain. The pain. No, Kagawa. You know what? He doesn't get shouts a lot. I don't know why. I understand the United time didn't go so well, but at Dortmund he was a killer. And I think of that Dortmund team, that Klopp Dortmund team that won so much, he was super underrated. And I don't know if it's because You know, he wasn't super flashy, or you know, he didn't do loads of step overs and all that kind of stuff, or if it was because, you know, he was sold for a reasonable amount and not a huge amount or whatever. But he was one of my favorite players in that Dortmund squad of that period. Yeah. So I hear you, Draco. He's a big fan.
I wasn't gonna say his name because he played for United. I unfollowed him after he played for United, so I'll give another name I really liked, Hasebe, if you guys know.
Yes, yeah.
He was very experienced defender.
Yeah, he's been playing for ages. Isn't he still playing now? Or he was still playing last season for Frankfurt, I think.
Last season, yes. He's retired this season. I'm not too sure. But I used to enjoy watching him play. They beat us in Europe as well when Unai Emery was around.
You're choosing all the ones that we're supposed to hate, man. Come on.
That's why it was so hard. I was thinking, like, which name I can say that's not anti-Arsenal. So maybe I'll call Tomiyasu anyways.
Now, you said Tomiyasu. We'll take your first answer, and I hear you. I really like Tomiyasu. I think you might be seeing him hopefully over the next couple of weeks come back into the team. I think this is perfect Tomiyasu time to try and lock down some big players that you might be playing in the Champions League and in the Premier League running. So hopefully we'll get to see a lot of him. But yeah, no, we'll wrap up the pod here, Draco. This has been an amazing chat, man. It was really good to get you on. Very, very long overdue. And yeah, we'll have to get you on again. Hopefully, you know, celebrating a Premier League title at the end of a season, or, you know, beginning of next season, and we can all gloat about how Liverpool are shit and Man City are shit. We can do it together. We can be like United.
And we can talk about how United beat Chelsea.
Yeah. We can say that too. Hopefully, we can also say how United won the FA Cup, and we can all, you know, get our little. I'll buy a mini trophy on Amazon, and we can get them all out on the screen. That would be great. But we'll wrap up the pod here, man. Thank you. Yeah. Oh no. Why did you ruin it, man? I was so close to the outro. And we were about to have such a good pod, and you had to throw that in there. But no, still, it's been a great chat, man. Thank you for coming on. Thank you, everyone, thanks for everyone for tuning in. Thanks, Johns, and we'll see you all next week. Take care.
Pleasure. Thank you all.
Thank you.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.